all screwed up out there, man, but you don't need me to tell you that. You already know.
Welcome to Deep Americana.
Hi, I'm Ray Carney. I'll be interviewing Josh Probst Sr. about creating reality tunnels for oneself and the value of trying to do nothing.
So, Josh, what's your view of the coronavirus situation?
Gosh, that's a complicated question.
Yeah.
I guess more than anything else, it's kind of reflective of the world we live in, which is by nature chaotic.
Yeah.
And I think that's to me the uncertainty of it is the crux of the whole thing. And on a macro level, the universe is an uncertain process. And we're just kind of waking up to that idea that the maps and models that we've been using to describe the process that is existence are nothing more than that, and that they're actually maybe much less real than we have given them credit for in the past. In other words, we've lived in this bubble where we think that there's this simple order that orders the world, when in fact that's not the case at all.
Right. It's let me ask you this. So have you seen where China or South Korea is tracking people by, I think it's called contact tracing, by their phones? And if you go into an area I don't even think they can track you interacting so much as it is if you are in a vicinity of someone for more than 5 minutes or something of that nature, that you'll get a text or something that you've been around an infected person. How do you feel about that type of, I guess that is called contact tracing is what they're trying to do with that, I think.
Well, good luck with that. That's what I say to it. What I think when I hear about ideas like this being implemented is that there's a faith in, well, I say good luck because none of these ideas ever work as well as anyone thinks they're gonna.
Right.
Because it's too much faith in algorithms, and again, it gets back to confusing the map for the territory and trying to extract too much information from a limited amount of data. And in the long run, I would suspect that a lot of people will probably, let's just say that there will be unintended consequences from as there always are, from what are passed off as well-meaning, well-intended moves like this by any state, any government.
Yeah, I was going to say.
The Patriot Act.
Yeah, no, it's the exact same thing.
Everybody laid down for the Patriot Act because, we need this security, and here we are.
Yeah, and that particular thing you mentioned dictates our lives today. even though, in my view, it doesn't need to be dictating our lives today.
Well, I try to imagine Fauci's reality tunnel as an epidemiologist and what his utopia looks like, where everyone wears masks all the time and nobody ever touches, and every virus is tracked everywhere it goes, and you know, he believes his bullshit,
Right.
just like most other people do,
Right.
and he's in a position right now to push that shit. So
Right.
I just suggest to you and everyone else to continue to work to create a reality tunnel for yourself that you can live in, where you are the empowered, and those closest to you are the ones calling the shots in the grand conspiracy. And you know, power is for those who claim it. Rights are for those who exercise them. And people can make rules, and they can, and sometimes, you know, at the point of a gun, they will do it. But I've sort of thought of myself as, you know, an outlaw by necessity since I was about 10 years old, because I recognize a vast difference between the do as I say rules of authority and the not as I do behavior of those who claim those roles.
Right. I can, yeah.
You know, if you want to look at it from a you know, a spiritual point of view, it's kind of Crowleyan.
That's okay.
Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. And, you know, I think if you want to take ownership of your life, you have to kind of step into those shoes.
Right. I think everybody should probably be doing quite a bit of that at this point. So are you staying pretty healthy, Josh? How's your health doing?
Relatively speaking, yes. You know, every day that I wake up with a pulse and a breath, I consider it a win.
Right.
It's all perspective, really. I just celebrated my 63rd birthday. If you go back just over the last 250 years, that puts me at the top of the curve. Like, I've lived, you know, beyond what, you know, even back in the 30s when Social Security was begun. That was a no-brainer, because nobody was living past 65, or the majority of Americans were dying before they reached that age. So, you know, it was, like I said, everybody's paying in, but nobody's taking anything, and that changed over time. So, you know, I feel great. You know,
Well, good.
I'm alive. I don't have any symptoms that aren't a direct reflection of my own somewhat hedonistic lifestyle over the, you know,
Yeah.
6+ decades.
That's an achievement in itself. Happy birthday.
Well, thank you.
You're very welcome. So let's. I want to talk about something. I kind of see how you feel about it. So Josh, in your view, why would you help another person out? How does that make you feel to help somebody?
Well, when you help somebody else, you're helping yourself, because everything is connected at one level or another, and we're all in this together. We all share the same skin on this planet,
Oh yeah, I think it's.
On the other hand,
Oh yeah, go ahead.
um, sometimes we may convince ourselves that we're helping when we're not, and that's due, in my mind anyway, to the fact that we are a multicultural society, which means we don't always necessarily share the same values. So sometimes when we believe we're helping because, you give somebody $20 or, maybe it helps and maybe it doesn't. Maybe it does make you feel better because you think you're doing something good. But in fact, there, once again, are unintended consequences to your act. But so I think mindful intent when interacting with others, especially if you're seeing yourself in some way as the advantaged and the other as the disadvantaged, maybe that perspective is in itself flawed to begin with. I think in many ways it's arrogant for me to think that I know what's best for somebody else, especially if I haven't even asked them, which is kind of the way central planning works.
Yeah, it's. I think a lot of times under the guise of help, a lot of really bad stuff has been done, such as giving Native Americans smallpox infected blankets. And it is. I think it is the mindfulness. I think it goes back to if you feed a man a fish, he'll live for a day. You show him how to fish, he'll be able to survive. Something to that effect, I guess. So, Josh, what are you doing to pass your time? How are you occupying your time?
Oh, the same way I really was prior to this quarantine, which is doing as little as possible.
It sounds like a
But
plan.
I think I'm finding more and more value in trying to do nothing. Honestly,
Yeah.
when versus meaningless road activities just to kill the time. Sometimes doing as little as possible opens one up to just a different perspective. Because what needs to be done, at any given moment, we need to eat every few days. Most of us do that a lot more often, but
Right.
we need to stay hydrated, and we shit and piss and move around a little bit so we don't get stiff. But everything else is just it's just chasing desire.
Yeah, it's just a want.
It's gaming. It's I spend a great deal of time just observing the world through different screens and different filters and different reality tunnels to try to broaden my own. And there sure is a lot of stuff out there that sounds quite highly unlikely to me, but it still falls within the realm of possibility. So there's room for it, off in the corner somewhere. I don't entirely, absolutely dismiss, anything 100%. Even the flat earthers, they could be right. I don't think they are. I haven't seen anything that makes me believe that they really. But it's like any other belief system. It's got its magic hole. Like any religion, whereas they have a Satan called NASA that is any time you question the faith, well, that's just one of NASA's tricks that has fooled you into believing that the Earth is a sphere and all this other stuff,
Right.
and NASA is the omnipotent evil in the whole thing, just like the devil
Right.
in some religions, or Satan or whatever, what have you. So, if you have that, you can believe whatever you want, and confirmation bias has shown us that nowadays you can find whatever you want to build your own reality tunnel out of steel and brick and mortar and make it as real as you want it to be, and those who need to believe are going to do that. And as a result, what we're getting is completely mutually exclusive reality tunnels inhabiting, the thought sphere, and the conclusions that most people who live in these dogmatic worlds is that everybody else is crazy except me, or my group, and that's a place that I hope we can move beyond,
Right.
because and psychedelics help for some people.
They do. Let me add.
To
Let me.
blow those walls away and to humble oneself enough to say, hey, I've been looking at everything I can for, as long as I can remember, and I'll be 100% honest with you right now, Ray. I don't know what the fuck is going on in this world, but I strongly suspect that the people who say they do are the stupidest ones, and their opinions are less valuable than those who say, I really don't know, but here's a handful of possibilities to consider.
Right. And I think that's
now, if I
the
hand
best
you a
way.
handful of possibilities, flat Earth won't be in there.
Right.
Unless we get to, no, this isn't weird enough for me yet. Give me something else.
Right.
What do I know? Maybe reptilians. I don't
Right.
know. I don't think so.
Well,
I don't think reptilians, but there are people who can all but prove it and believe it to an absolute place, and that's what really matters, is how strongly somebody believes something, because that's what they act upon.
Well,
in the long run.
Josh, check this idea out. I'm with you on everything there. Do you think I feel like a lot of what you're talking about becomes very much manifest destiny and almost self-prophecy through this stuff. But I've been wondered for a long time, kind of if our apocalyptic fantasies and crazy realities that are constructed through media, every types of media, if our focus on that type of reality has not brought us to this, in different ways. Because there's so many people that focus on those types of things. I don't know. Do you think we've manifested this through like just everybody focusing on bad ideas?
Well, there have been doomsayers in my world for as long as I can remember.
Right.
The end is near. The end is nigh. And of course we have books of Revelation, and we have interpretations of Nostradamus, and throughout history you always have predictions that the end of the world is right around the corner. Right?
Yeah, you do.
And yet, here we are. In spite of the fact that we're in the midst of a global pandemic, there's more people on the planet today than there were yesterday.
Right.
And et cetera, et cetera. Sometimes I think that the apocalyptic meme serves to scare people just enough to keep it from happening.
Right.
That we need to have, well, once the box is open, it's open. Take, for example, nuclear apocalypse. I mean, that was the big one for years during
Right.
the Cold War, you know. We're going to have this global nuclear conflagration, you know, conflagration, excuse me. And never happened.
Right.
At least not yet. But I think the mushroom meme lives on. You know, the mushroom cloud meme is still used, and even back after 9/11, it was used very, very specifically by the Bush administration to sell the Iraq War.
Right.
It was also used back by Lyndon Johnson to defeat Barry Goldwater in 1964. Take a look, just type Daisy into your Google, Daisy LBJ, and the advertisement will come up where you have the little girl and she's counting off the petals of a daisy, and it turns into countdown, 3, 2, 1, kaboom, you know, mushroom cloud. So I think there's some truth to self-fulfilling prophecy, you know, and fear creates a different world than love does. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, I don't allow it to make me assume that, because, you know, it has to be a possibility once you bring that thought into existence, you know, and you can't have a beginning without an end, you know. So we've always had this idea of end of the world. I think that we're going to continue to live in the end times forever.
Now, do you think
It's
that
always going to be the end times from here on out, and it always has been the end times, because it becomes a reality for all of us individually at one point or another. Our physical lives end, and every government that's ever existed has ended, and planets disappear over time, and biospheres go through periods of extinction and then rebirth over thousands of years of time. So it's always the end of the world for somebody, but it's always a beginning for somebody else. Now, for those people who are stuck in a particular, very static idea of what the universe should be, and can't adapt to the idea that it's always changing but still there, then that's a really frightening concept, that everything's always dying, you know. But things are also, you know, rising from the rotting shit of the decaying corpses, you know. It's a process. It's always going on, and so.
Then if that freaks people out, we should definitely not tell them that time is not linear, because that would really fuck them up.
Well, I'm not out to fuck people up.
I
know. Everything happens in its own time, you know?
Right.
I used to think that chaos needed help, you know, but obviously it doesn't, you know, and what I need to do is for myself is learn how to better breathe and dance and love in the rubble, you know, as some things continue to collapse, you know, and how to recognize the rubble as the building blocks of tomorrow, and because I mean it's a process, and death is a part of that process.
Oh yeah.
And I think Americans and Western civilization has kind of put this wall between us and death, and separated us from it in a spiritual way, such that we don't embrace the inevitability of it, and the fact that it's an integral part of existence itself. You know, it's like we have to go back to binary reptilian logic that life good, death bad. You know,
Right.
It's not. And I'm not saying, you know, I don't want to start a death cult or anything, although I think this would be a real good time for it if I was more of a capitalist. But
Right. It could be.
There's good money in death, and a lot of people do know that. But really, the money is in the fear and in the separation and in a ritual that you know, a little too much of a good psychedelic will give you a new perspective on, or at least in my case, that's where it's been. Where I love my life, but I'm more attached to the moment-to-moment quality of it than longevity, because uncertainty. I could stroke out any second, you know, anything could happen to me at any moment.
Yeah.
You just don't know. You just don't know. You know, I kind of count myself as fortunate in the sense that I was exposed enough to untimely death at an early enough age that I recognize that as something that happens, and though you can never completely prepare for it when it does happen, especially to close people, that it's a reality that one cannot really avoid. You know, death happens, and I kind of think that in my lifetime, it hasn't happened as maybe even as often as it should, to keep us aware of how real it was, that we're coming out of a period where it's been easier to stay alive for a larger percentage of the Earth's population than it ever has been before, and we've come to have no choice in our heads but to take that for granted. And that, especially here in America, where, you know, we take everything for granted.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Well, Josh, I think we've done a really good interview here, man.
This concludes my interview with Josh Probst.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Have a serene sleep.